Hello and welcome to this Chase TV special. I'm Emma from the Chase Indies, and today we're bringing you live coverage of the demolition of the main chimney at Rugeley Power Station. We've already had an enormous amount of interest in this special from places as far afield as South Africa and India, California even. Rugeley, the eyes of the world are on you, and today it's all about you. So wherever you are, whether you're in Rugeley, elsewhere in Cannock Chase, or somewhere else entirely on the globe, drop us a comment, tell us who you are and where you're from. Now, we have heard from NG overnight that the timing of the demolition may be subject to change, and that's possibly because we've got some snow moving in this morning. The demolition is currently scheduled for 8 AM, which is just under half an hour's time. We're monitoring the situation. We'll update you as and when we hear any more. Now, whether it goes on time or a bit later, don't worry, stay right here. We have got plenty to show you while we wait. Obviously, we're going to bring you the demolition itself, courtesy of the video feed from NG. We're going to talk to Bob Robotham, a former worker at the power station, and to Bill Douthwaite from Power for All. We're also going to show you some archive footage of the power station over the years. And we'll have a countdown clock ticking us down to the main event. So, Jack, scroll on. As I mentioned before, let us know if you are local. Tell us your memories of the power station and what you'd like to see happening in the future. And if you're from elsewhere, tell us what's bringing you to Rugeley this morning. Now, the demolition of the power station marks the end of an era for many people who've worked there over the years. And I've been catching up with Bob Robotham, a former worker at the power station, who shared his memories with us.
35 years.
Wow.
Long time.
That is a long time, and I guess that you had a number of job roles in those in all those years. What did you do?
Yeah, initially I left the milk round to join CEGB as a plant attendant, which is a job where you just go around checking oil levels, listening to machinery, and generally reporting back to the control room when they'd got problems, ashing boilers. I then, after about 10 years, moved on to being an assistant unit operator. This is where you go in the control room and you actually operate the plant. You put machines in and out and take machines out of service. And then after a couple of years, I became a unit operator, totally responsible for the operation of the boiler and making sure that everything's safe for other people to go and work on the plant by taking things out. I had a very short period where I trained to be safety rep, and then I got involved with safety heavily, and I took various exams. I started off with NEBOSH in my own time. I was going to college after nights and doing a full day at college. Eventually got proper qualification in health and safety, right up to becoming a chartered member of IOSH and the station safety advisor for about 12 years.
Wow, that's a lot of work over a number of years, and lots of people watching will remember a lot of that, having worked there, and will also remember the power station in its heyday, when there were open days and social events. Do you think that after today, when we've had today's demolition and then later on the cooling towers come down and the landmark is no longer there, do you think that people will reflect with sadness that it's not there anymore?
I'm sure they will. Rugeley Power Station has been a large part of a lot of people's lives, not only the people that worked there, but got a huge social side power station. The CEGB, when they built it, catered for all sorts of things. It had a thriving social club. So many people, I'm sure, will have been there for one occasion or another. I always used to think when I'd been on holiday, as soon as I could see the cooling towers, I was home.
And we've heard that the large chimney that's being demolished today hasn't actually been in the sky for that long. Can you tell us anything about its history and what it actually did when the power station was operating?
Yeah, It isn't the original tall chimney. The original chimney had to be demolished and a new chimney erected. That process started in 2007, but the chimney wasn't actually commissioned until 2009. Continuously poured, which is working 24/7. But they had to pause it over Christmas, and then it was restarted again. But it's where the flue gases are taken out up into the atmosphere. It was built as a result of environmental pressures. We had to reduce the amount of sulfur going out into the air. So it was built for that reason, along with the FGD plant, the flue gas desulfurization plant.
Thank you. That's really interesting. And we'd love to finish by hearing one of your favourite stories from your time at Rugeley Power Station. What can you share with us?
Oh, there are many stories about the place. A lot of camaraderie, social events, working on the charter fair floats. Rugeley was heavily involved in that for quite a while. But one particular one that I remember distinctly is we used to have Christmas parties, and for one Christmas party, myself and some of the management team had to do a full Monty act to the place up at Bow Desert Golf Course. Fortunately, we didn't have to take all our clothes off, so otherwise it would have been empty. But that's probably one of my most memorable memories, to see managers dressed in shorts, took off all the rest of the clothes.
I bet that was really memorable for everybody there. Thank you so much for sharing your memories with us. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Take care and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much, Emma. Goodbye.
I really enjoyed catching up with Bob, and his memories just bring the power station back to life. So why don't we now go over and look at the building that's coming down today? We've got some drone footage taken a few weeks ago, and you can see over to the left the cooling tower, the tall, thin building. Sorry, the cooling towers are on the right, the drone footage is on the left, and you can see exactly the building that's coming down today, that tall chimney there. And I think now we can go to some of the Facebook comments. I understand we've got over 1,000 people watching this morning, and you're all up bright and early with plenty to say. So let's see what people have got to tell us this morning. Newcastle under Lyme. Oh, wow. Good morning. I went to university at Keele. So hi, everyone in Newcastle under Lyme this morning. Oh, from South Wales, and you grew up in Landsacre, and that's why you're watching today. Well, good morning to you, Lee. And very, very locally indeed, you must be right by the action today, watching from Armitage. Oh, and this is a fantastic memory. Discos at the power station when you were a child. That's brilliant. Yep, and we've got Martin here saying that the open days at the power station were fantastic. We've been hearing a lot about the open days over the past few weeks, actually. And we've got Lynn watching in Sutton Coldfield. Good morning. Oh, wow. Good morning. Watching from New Zealand. I suspect, though, Jane, it's not actually morning where you are. So good evening to you. I hope the detonators aren't frozen. It's so cold. Yeah, you're right, Mark. It's absolutely freezing this morning. Wow, so many people from around the world watching this. I know. I'm completely blown away by it as well, Helen. Morning from Willenhall, just down the road from where I am. Morning, David. A bit of excitement on this dull, cold Sunday morning. Karen, you're absolutely right. I think we all need a bit of excitement at the moment, and this is definitely providing it. And we've got watching from Northamptonshire, and you used to live in Rugeley, so I'm sure some really good memories for you here as well. Okay, so we'll come back to more of your comments later, so do please keep them coming. We'd love to hear from you on this chilly Sunday morning, really rather early. So the demolition of the power station is obviously on our minds today, and it's going to be the end of an era, and it's the start of another one, because once decommissioning is complete, the site will be redeveloped, and the local community group Power for All has been dedicating themselves to ensuring that the legacy of the power station benefits the whole community. I've been catching up from Bill Douthwaite from the group to hear his thoughts.
A number of us.
Hi Bill, welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit about Power for All and how it came about?
Yeah, Power for All, some time back, the NG did some consultations in the Rugeley regarding the power station and the fact it was coming down, and was looking for people to connect with them, and a number of us decided that we would act, I suppose, as a conduit really for the community. So 3 of us plus a couple of local councillors initially joined together to become what was Power for All. It was a two-way thing really. One was to try and connect people's opinions up to be heard, and the second one was to try and get people doing things. So Power for All works both ways.
And so obviously the main event today then is the power station chimney coming down. What are your thoughts as that landmark of the Rugeley landscape disappears?
I think there's mixed emotions there. There are a lot of people that used to work there. Some are still raw with it being closed. I think there is a danger that the power station has defined the area with the pits. It's sad to lose it, but likewise we need to move forward. So we need to keep the best of that and take that as we go forward. I know that there are initiatives at the moment looking at how we capture information on the power station and the pits and make it available for the community, and look to actually almost make it a visitor attraction as well, to make the area something for people to come to. We have got a brilliant area with the Chase, with the National Memorial Arboretum not far away, with Alton Towers. You know, there's so much for people to do around this area that I'd like to see our history built in, but we cannot be defined by our history.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Bill, and keep up the great work that you guys are doing to support the community, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes, of course, of course.
I would love to say thank you to our councillors. They have, they do it for the benefit of the community, and so I would like to thank them for the work they do, and ask our community to always bear in mind that they are doing it for the benefit of the community, and when they put ideas there forward, remember that the people they're putting them there are serving and they want to help.
Absolutely. Thank you for that final thought. Thanks for joining us today, Bill.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed talking to Bill from Power for All, and we actually spoke for longer than that. And you can see the full interview on tomorrow's edition of Chase TV, which is at 7:30 right here on the Chase Indies Facebook page. Now, between the 1940s and the 1980s, over 80 coal-fired power stations were built in Britain. We've now got a look back on history, and we join Granville Camsey, who talks us through how they worked.
This is not the only station on the Trent. It's not the only station built near a coal field, in this case on top of one. You need those essential commodities: coal, and water. And down the Trent, the CGB built many big power stations in the 60s and 70s. And I think this one, Rugeley B, built on the old A station site, was just efficient use of the land, and I think it is one of the last 500 megawatt unit stations that were built. In a power station, making electricity is actually quite simple. You get some coal and burn it in a boiler, make some steam. You take the steam to a turbine, which is a very sophisticated windmill. It's attached to an electrical generator, which makes electricity, and you squirt it out onto the national wire system. However, in reality, as you can see from this central control room, it's a technically highly sophisticated business. If I just think about coal, coal comes into this place today by rail. And there is a little station. The trains come in with some 30 to 50 wagons, each one carrying many, many tons of coal. And as this train moves slowly, the bottoms are opened and the coal falls straight down into a bunker and then straight onto a conveyor belt, which carries it to two places. The most efficient way is for that coal to go straight up to the boiler house. But because you need a stock, there is an alternative way, and the belt can carry it to a coal stock, and their operators with big scrapers bulldoze the coal about to form a regular stack of coal. When the coal goes straight up to the top of the boiler house, this boiler house is about 200 feet high. The coal falls into bunkers down big chutes and is slotted into 6 big mills, because this coal is pretty poor stuff. You could never light it in a normal fire. So to burn it, it has to be ground to a very fine powder. The coal falls into the mill and gets ground and ground to the consistency of a face powder. And remember, there are tens of tons flowing, and to get it from the mill to the boiler, you blow vast quantities of air through the mill up large ducts into very big nozzles in the front of the boiler, tiers of them. And because the coal is so fine, it burns exceedingly quickly and creates a red hot, a white hot, massive ball of flame, releasing its heat. That is then powdered ash, just like face powder. It gets everywhere, and there is a big problem, technical problem in containing it. It goes out of the boiler with the smoke through big precipitators which are electrically charged, and they capture all the dust. And that dust goes down into bunkers below the precipitators and is actually a good byproduct. It is sold. We've all seen those grey insulation blocks in building, commercial and domestic building. They are made from pulverised ash from power stations. So in my day, the smoke used to go straight up the chimney, but it was discovered there was serious environmental damage. So in this station today, they've built a flue gas clean-up plant at the back end, and that takes all the acidic materials out, and then the smoke goes up the chimney. So that's the coal cycle. Now, the boilers, as I say, are about 200 feet tall. They are in fact just big structures with the walls being made out of metal tubes which carries water. The heat is given up to the steam. It's high pressure, about 160 bar pressure. It comes out of the boilers at very high temperature, about 560 degrees centigrade. The steam is taken back into the hottest part of the flame to superheat it, so it carries the maximum amount of energy, and it's taken to the turbine hall and enters the steam turbine. Now, that steam expands its way through the turbine, giving up energy and spinning the turbine very fast, and disappears into very big condensers. And the reason it goes to condensers, which are big vessels with steam on one side of a set of tubes and cold water from the Trent River, this power station is built on the Trent River, that cold water cools the steam down to water and it gets pumped back to the boiler. But it's very, very pure water. There is on this site a sophisticated chemical treatment plant to make the water pure. In fact, it's that pure you can grow medical cultures in it. And it's needed to be pure to stop corrosion. You need vast quantities of water. You can see the cooling towers. The water from the condensers, which started in the Trent, gets slightly warm, and to recirculate it for reuse, we sprinkle it in the bottom of those big concrete cooling towers. They are shaped like they are to naturally pull in draft at the bottom, and as it rises up these tall structures, it cools the water that's sprinkled from about 10% of the way up. And that cooling allows the water to be pumped back to the condensers. If I come to the turbine, whilst it's like a windmill, in other words, the steam blows onto the blades and it turns round, it is in fact a number of windmills tied together. There are many, many, many rows of blades. The front end, the metal, is white hot because of the temperature of the steam. As the steam goes through the turbine, it slowly loses its pressure, and at the back end, it's very chilled. It's as low as 50 degrees temperature, you know, comfortable hot water temperature. And the pressure has given way to a vacuum. So here you have this rotating steam turbine, white hot at one end, chilled cold at the other, high pressure at one end, very low pressure at the other, going round at 3,000 revs a minute. In fact, it's going round that fast. The biggest blade speed is something like 1.5 times the speed of sound, and it's rotating in very fine proximity to fixed parts of the turbine. So controlling that machine is technically very difficult. Attached to this turbine is a generator, and the generator is just a big magnet rotating within a big set of copper coils. And if you rotate a magnet fast enough in a set of copper coils, electricity is made in the copper coils. But this is no ordinary generator. It needs to be cooled because electricity is made in such quantities the copper will get hot and it's cooled by water. The rotor, the magnet, can weigh 60 or 70 tons. It's going round at 3,000 revs, and it too needs to be cooled. And we use hydrogen. I can think of no more difficult combination of materials than high voltage electricity, which you make, water to cool it, and hydrogen to keep the rotor cool. So you have a problem of containment of the water and the hydrogen. It's well known, if hydrogen escapes, you could have a serious explosion. If water gets to earth with the copper, you could have an even bigger explosion with the electricity. And we haven't finished there. The electricity can be made at 11,000 volts, but to ship it about the country on the high voltage grid system, the higher the voltage, the cheaper it is to move it about. So in fact, we transform the electricity made in the generator up to 400,000 volts. and ship it about the country.
That was a fascinating look at the power station over the years. And we are showing on our screen, but just to reiterate that we're hearing the demolition has been delayed until 8:30. Do stay tuned though, we've got plenty of things to show you and plenty of things to talk you through until then. Let's catch up with some of your comments. Really good, understandable explanation of, sorry, I'm struggling to read that, of the production process. Yeah, absolutely. We were sitting there watching that thinking the exact same thing, Helen. The longest demolition in the world. You can say that again, Annette. Good morning, watching from Stonewall. Good morning to you, Jean. Yes, so just to reiterate, it is 8:30, and what we think has caused that is some adverse weather conditions, possibly with some snow in the mix there. So we will keep you updated if anything changes. Yeah, so again, I can really appreciate the frustration if you've got up early to watch the demolition, but I think it's really important that the everything goes off safely and well, so we will just sit tight until they're ready to go. Watching from Cyprus, oh my goodness, I would love to be watching in Cyprus. I hope you're having a lovely time out there. Morning everyone, short but sweet. Good morning to you, Jamie. And let's take one more before we move on. Watching from the bedroom window, cracking view. Well, you've got a grandstand seat today then, haven't you? Fantastic. So do keep your comments coming. It is early on a Sunday morning and it's lovely to hear from everybody from Rugeley, Cannock Chase, all across the world. Please do keep your comments coming and we will keep reading them as we go through the show. So as we know, the main star of today is that chimney, which will be coming down. We're hearing now around about 8:30. So before it comes down, why don't we take a little look at how it was made? And we've got some footage here starring Richard Hammond, none other, when the chimney was being built in the first place.
Rain or shine, I wanted to get up close to another concrete structure that's being built using the same technique to see how it's done. This time it's a power station in Britain. Unfortunately, it means doing something I hate. I have to travel 180 meters up into the air in a small steel cage.
You're quite comfortable here, aren't you?
Yeah,
You're really not at all bothered, are you?
not really, no.
Good,
We're not even halfway up yet.
good, good. I know it looks high from down there. From right alongside it, it's very, very high.
I have to keep reminding myself that this 180-meter chimney is less than half the height of the trolley. But they use the exact same technique to build it.
Oh yeah, just a day at the office, all perfectly normal. Yeah. even when half paralysed by fear, there's a bit of my mind that is still amazed. This is one lump of concrete. It's one piece. That is just one piece.
And it's all thanks to a pioneering waterproof grain elevator in Minnesota, the brainchild of engineer C.F. Haglin.
C.F. Haglin realised that if a building is constructed in lots of different sections, it's very difficult to make it waterproof where the sections are joined together. But he found a way to make a building in a single piece, totally waterproof with no leaks or gaps.
It's amazing, but even a brief pause in construction would leave a seam, which could be a lethal weakness on the troll. And the secret of building tall structures without ever stopping is to pour the concrete continuously. You need a mould that moves up the building as it grows. It's a cycle. Concrete is poured, then hydraulics anchored in the concrete structure itself raise the mould or shutter a few centimetres so that the pouring can start all over again.
Underneath the rig, this is the shutter that contains the concrete that's being poured. It's a bit that they lift up. This is the fresh concrete that's been exposed underneath. In fact, we're moving now. Look, there you go. That's me, everything I'm standing on, everybody on top. We're all moving up to expose fresh concrete underneath.
The process is called slip forming. Hydraulics move the mould up the building without any scaffolding.
It's still wet. That's not set yet. It is amazing to think that they're still working above here. They're pouring new concrete. At the moment, this is all just wet stuff that's just been poured in from the wheelbarrows. It's just so going off here, still soft, and down here, as the chemical reaction is taking place by which the concrete cures, it's warm.
This building grows by 20 centimetres an hour. It took 6 weeks to build the 180-metre chimney. Slip forming is the quickest way of building huge concrete structures.
I don't know about you, but I always love seeing those big engineering projects, how these things are actually built. I, for one, had no idea that that chimney is just one single continuous piece of concrete. Absolutely fantastic. So, as we know, the demolition has been delayed until 8:30. Let's go over to the site live now. So, as we're aware, the police guidance is not to go down to the site in Rugeley today. So, this feed is brought to us via NG, although I think we're now getting one of their adverts. But the footage that we've just seen shows the power station live, a really rather atmospheric look at the station this morning with a very wintry sky behind it. And I was just reflecting watching that the sun is about to rise for the last time on a very distinctive part of that landmark. So we will keep checking in on that footage as we go through the next little while, and that demolition hopefully now on track for 8:30. Okay, let's see if we can go back to some more of your comments. Not sure we are able to do that at the moment, so we will. Oh no, we've got some coming up now. Refresh for sound. I'm not sure what that means, Gail, but maybe our technical chap in the background will. Thank you. Good morning. I lived in Brereton for many years in the 50s and 60s, so I'm sure you've got some memories of the local area. And watching from Heath Hayes. Good morning to you, Sarah. Nice and local. Watching from Somerset. And you want to say hello to your mum, Mandy. That's lovely. Somerset's a lovely part of the world. One of my granddads was from there. Watching from Stafford. Hello. Again, very local. We love Stafford. No expert, but you reckon we're going to get a buffering at 8:29. Let's hope not. Let's hope not. They've got a YouTube link which we're hoping is fairly stable. Okay. We're now hearing that it's snowing in Rugeley, and here's a lovely message from Ryan to Paul. Our techie in the background. My heart goes out to you. Paul does a fantastic job behind the scenes. So just to kind of give you guys an awareness of our setup, we are all volunteers from the local area who just want to do something for our community. So Paul is the technical guy who's directing and producing this show. He's in my ear telling me what's going on. Obviously I'm here in Hensford with my 12-year-old son Jack manning some of the tech that we've got on this site here. So just a very small operation, but we are really enjoying being with you this morning. Thomas is watching from Hong Kong. Oh my goodness, wow. And Thomas used to study in Stafford. I guess good evening to you, Thomas. You're really testing my knowledge of time zones and geography today. Watching from Melton Mowbray, but from Cannock originally. I used to live in Leicestershire. Melton Mowbray is a lovely part of the world. Good morning to you. Watching from Hawksyard. Good morning. And let's take another one. Max Taylor Wainwright from Halifax, Yorkshire. I like that when it's in capitals so I could read it really clearly. How come it's been delayed? Really good question. So as we know, the demolition was scheduled for 8 a.m. today, but these things really are a delicate science, and I think they require quite a lot of things to be all lined up to happen on time. We heard last night that there was a chance that the weather might play a part in today's drama, and that there was a chance that while they would be working towards 8 a.m. that the demolition may be pushed back to accommodate that. And we have heard in the last couple of minutes that it is now snowing in Rugeley. So not sure how that impacts everything, but if you stay with us, we'll update you as and when we hear anything else. It's a really good question actually about it being delayed, because this is part of a multi-stage decommissioning process of the power station. So as we know, that you can see on the picture above my head, that tall thin tower is what's coming down today, and the cooling towers will come down later this year. Do stay tuned to our page, click like on our page to be notified of when we'll be going live with a show for those. But this is part of a multi-stage stage demolition process, and there was a part of the station that went a few weeks ago, and that did go to schedule, and we're going to show you that VT in just a moment. But let's just take this comment from Michael, who's saying that his brother David worked at the station for many years. So I'm sure that for you, Michael, and for David, there's some mixed emotions today, because it really is part of the end of an era here. And we've got some best wishes from Trev Edwards in Heath Hayes, and thank you for streaming it. So good morning to you, Trevor. Okay. The live NG feed, it does seem to be struggling at the moment, so fingers crossed that they can resolve that before we are due to go live. So why don't we take a look at the last demolition at the power station, because that was quite a nice dramatic one. As I said earlier, it did run to schedule, and it might give us a little bit of a hint of what to expect this morning. Okay, we're just finding the footage. So that was the demolition of the boiler house. That was late last year. Slightly different weather, as you can tell from today, but just a bit of an insight into the decommissioning process and what's been happening. So we are hearing again that it has been delayed until 8:30. We are going to stay with you until they demolish it, and we've got plenty to show you. Now, if you are joining us late, I really want to show something that we did play earlier. So if you've been watching since 7:30, I'm sure you'll forgive me for showing this again, but we had such a lovely interview with Bob, who used to work at the power station, and we'd really like to share his memories again for those of you who maybe couldn't join us at the start. So we're just going to play that video out again now. Bob, thank you so much for joining us today. And tell us, how long did you work at Rugeley Power Station?
I started in 1977 and I finished in 2012, so 35 years.
Wow.
Long time.
That is a long time. And I guess that you had a number of job roles in all those years. What did you do?
Yeah, initially I left the milk round to join CEGB as a plant attendant, which is a job where you just go around checking oil levels, listening to machinery, and generally reporting back to the control room when they've got problems, ashing boilers. I then, after about 10 years, moved on to being an assistant unit operator. This is where you go in the control room and you actually operate the plant. You put machines in and out and take machines out of service. And then after a couple of years, I became a unit operator, totally responsible for the operation of the boiler and making that everything's safe for other people to go and work on the plant by taking things out. I had a very short period where I trained to be safety rep, and then I got involved with safety heavily, and I took various exams. I started off with NEBOSH in my own time. I was going to college after nights and doing a full day at college. Eventually got proper qualification in health and safety, right up to becoming a chartered member of IOSH and the station safety advisor for about 12 years.
Wow, that's a lot of work over a number of years, and lots of people watching will remember a lot of that, having worked there, and will also remember the power station in its heyday, when there were open days and social events. Do you think that after today, when we've had today's demolition and then later on the cooling towers come down and the landmark is no longer there, do you think that people will reflect with sadness that it's not there anymore?
I'm sure they will. Rugeley Power Station has been a large part of a lot of people's lives, not only the people that worked there, but got a huge social side power station. The CEGB, when they built it, catered for all sorts of things. It had a thriving social club. So many people, I'm sure, will have been there for one occasion or another. I always used to think when I'd been on holiday, as soon as I could see the cooling towers, I was home.
And we've heard that the large chimney that's being demolished today hasn't actually been in the sky for that long. Can you tell us anything about its history and what it actually did when the power station was operating?
Yeah, it isn't the original tall chimney. The original chimney had to be demolished and a new chimney erected. That process started in 2007, but the chimney wasn't actually commissioned until 2009. Continuously poured, which is working 24/7. But they had to pause it over Christmas, and then it was restarted again. But it's where the flue gases are taken out up into the atmosphere. It was built as a result of environmental pressures. We had to reduce the amount of sulfur going out into the air. So it was built for that reason, along with the FGD plant, the flue gas desulfurization plant.
Thank you. That's really interesting. And we'd love to finish by hearing one of your favourite stories from your time at Rugeley Power Station. What can you share with us?
Oh, there are many stories about the place. A lot of camaraderie, social events, working on the charter fair floats. Rugeley was heavily involved in that for quite a while. But one particular one that I remember distinctly is we used to have Christmas parties. And for one Christmas party, myself and some of the management team had to do a full Monty act to the place up at Bow Desert Golf Course. Fortunately, we didn't have to take all our clothes off, so otherwise it would have been empty. But that's probably one of my most memorable memories, to see managers dressed in shorts, ripped off all the rest of the clothes.
Right, we're now hearing that the 1 minute siren to demolition has gone off, and that means that they are about to blow the chimney. So I think possibly at this point, the best thing we can do is to cross over to the live feed and see what's happening. Okay, so the chap who commented on our Facebook earlier that the feed was likely to go down, I don't know if you put a fiver on that or anything, but you were spot on. The NG feed has gone down. We are trying to find some footage from elsewhere, so if you just give us a moment, we may be able to find something for you. Bear with us.
zoom in. Can you zoom in? Oh, that's a good shot, John. Great shot. What was the picture so crap? It's the feed, it's their feed. Oh, Paul. Okay. Okay, no problem. Right, so. Just oh, God. It's just got those. Seems really dead slow.
The alarm went off 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago.
Seconds. Get ready.
Oh my God.
It's gone.
Oh
Wow.
my God.
That was loud.
Sharp the sound.
Wow. And there it goes. The chimney has been demolished. And we'd love to hear what you thought of that. Was that a fantastic feat of engineering for you? Did you have mixed emotions because it's somewhere that you've grown up seeing that landmark, or you've worked there, or known someone who's worked there? We'd love to share your thoughts on our feed during the show. So just to highlight that I mentioned earlier, we're volunteers. We're doing this for the love of the community, but it's not cheap or easy to do this kind of work and to stream live television, essentially. So if you are appreciating what we're doing, we have set up Facebook stars, and you can send us stars if you have enjoyed the show this morning. So let's take a few of your comments and hear some of your reactions. And I am struggling to read that, but it just, I can see at the end that Ryan, you're saying it, that it is sad times, watching with a cup of tea. Yeah, it was quite kind of emotional to see that go. So Rebecca, you are in Rugeley, and it was a hell of a bang from the Eastern Drive estate. You've heard a loud rumble in Utoxeter after the event. Yeah, it's something that you can see and hear from a long way away. So it'd be interesting to see what people saw and heard. Oh, Paul, I missed it. Could someone rebuild it and knock it down again for me? I'm sure you're joking, but if you want to rewatch it, this video is going to be on our Facebook page, and people can go back and see it again. Thank you. That was fantastic. Cheryl, completely agree with you. It was fantastic. Well worth, I think you'll all agree, getting up early and that extra half-hour wait that we had. When was the tower originally built? Emma, are you testing my knowledge of what we've been going through this morning? Now, I understand that this tower hasn't been around that long, somewhere around 2006 or 2009. 2009, Bob was telling us earlier, so it's one of the later parts of the power station, and we saw that really good video with Richard Hammond of the concrete being cast. So if you want to go back and watch that, really, really good viewing. Well done, Emma. Keep going. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, this is one where I woke up at 6:15 and thought, well, at least I'll be done by 8. And here we are, we're still going. Ashby Della Zouche, Steve. Do you know what? I have got a lot of love for Ashby Della Zouche. As I mentioned earlier in the show, I used to live in Leicestershire, and I fondly remember a school trip to a soap factory you guys have or had there. And I bought a soap in the shape of the Queen from Alice in Wonderland. So there's a fun fact from my life. Paul's telling me it's boring. So Hayley tells us it's great but emotional, and I'm sure that that's a sentiment echoed by a lot of people watching today. Steve, I'm just struggling to read that because it's quite small. But it looks like appreciating the loss of such a well-respected landmark. So if you do live in the area, Rugeley Power Station is something that you can see from miles and miles around. You know, on a clear day, you can see it from Hensford, from all sorts of places. So yes, a huge landmark that's just not there. Wow, it was brilliant. It's Max from Halifax. He's only 9, bless him, and it was brilliant. Max, you got up really early, so well done to you. Thank you for staying with us, and I'm really glad that you enjoyed seeing that. Paul, you worked there for 17 years and you loved it, and you're sad to see another part of the power station heritage gone. Do you know, everyone we talk to who's worked at the power station has got really fond memories of it. We're going to be doing some more shows later in the year when the cooling towers come down. So if there is anybody out there who's worked at the power station, has those fond memories and would like to talk to us, please do leave us a comment. We'd love to hear some more memories and really understand that heritage that Paul's talking about. We'd love to share that with everybody. A loud boom in Great Haywood, amazing to watch and quite emotional. Helen, yeah, we agree. Well done, and thanks to everyone involved for making it possible to share this experience. From Deb. Yeah, indeed. Heard the boom in Hickson as well. So this boom's reached far and wide. It must have been really, really loud. I wonder the person who was watching it out of their window, I wonder if they could get back in touch and tell us if their window is still intact. Oh gosh, poor Tess. So Anne tells us that her dog Tess has just come down from the ceiling. What a bang. Yeah, and I hope everyone who's got pets, that they're all okay, and also small children. So Richard points out that incredibly it collapsed in on itself. Well done, Brown and Mason. So Brown and Mason are the guys responsible for that demolition, and yeah, really neat kind of, I guess, what implosion would you say? It just sort of falling down in on itself, not blowing out loads of debris for miles around. A really, really well executed operation. Teresa, a lovely comment from you. Brilliant. My kids will remember this forever. An amazing experience. I do think it's nice to have something that we can share in these difficult times that takes our mind off some of the woes of the world. And we've got a nice comment here from Andrea, really interesting, loving the history of it. A big hello to Uncle Billy Hunt in Brereton. Yeah, and I think that's been a positive, really, of the fact that the demolition was delayed. It allowed us to bring you some of those extra bits of video. And we've got another one, actually, which we'll show you before we close today. And have we got any more comments, Paul? My kids said that was awesome, Debbie. I think your kids have summed it up absolutely perfectly. And let's take one more. It's so sad that it came down, Liz. Yeah, I think a lot of people are feeling that today. And I'll go on, let's take another one. I love demolishing, from Zach, age 9. Morning to you, Zach. Yeah, I love that comment. That's my favourite. So let's leave it there for one moment. And do keep your comments coming. It's been lovely talking to you this morning and hearing your thoughts and your reflections and spending a bit of time with you. And before we leave today, we want to show you a bit more of that history of the power station. So those of you who've been with us since the start may have seen our segment from Granville Camsey. What a fantastic name that guy has got. He joined the British Electricity Authority as a young man, and he's got here an interview with a chap who used to manage the power station, and here it is.
I came from a quite poor family. There was just mother and 3 little ones. I never knew my father, but she was a weaver in the Lancashire mill towns, and next door to her weaving was a woman called Ashcroft. I can remember the name so well. And when I was due to leave school at the age of 16, she talked to Mrs. Ashcroft, as weavers did, and she said, oh, send him to the power station. They give you overalls. And my mother said to me, right, you can go for an apprenticeship and you go into the power station. To be a station manager in those days, I guess it's the same today, was an accolade. It was considered to be the best job in the enterprise, apart from the chairman's job. You know, there were only 2 jobs. You were either the chairman or the power station manager, and I was a power station manager. It's absolutely great to be here. As you know, I'm an old station manager. It's a long time ago. It's something like 37 or 38 years ago since I walked through the door as a new manager of Rugeley. What about yourself? Where did you start here?
Well, I've actually been here now for nearly 11 years,
That's a long time.
which I keep getting told makes me the longest serving power station manager of all time at Rugeley, which makes me feel very old, but also puts me into an interesting group of people. So I've been in the power industry ever since I left university, which was back in 1984. Great to have you back here. You know, when I talk to people here who've been here for some time, do you remember Granville Camsey? Yes, some of them do. And everyone has got a little anecdotal tale about some of Granville's moments.
What is your managerial demand today? In simple terms, what are the things that keep you awake at night? What are the things that give you problems? The technical ones for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, really, there's sort of 2 parts to this. The first part is making sure that the plant is operating right on the day. And as part of that is making sure that the people are working safely. We've got all the right systems in place. We've got good availability. We've got good efficiency. The business is being run well. But that's sort of almost the least part of it. The next part is to be almost up in the crow's nest, looking forward and saying, well, what is coming at coal-fired power plants? Because right now, we're kind of a difficult business. People don't really like coal.
No.
You cannot get away from the fact that if you burn coal, you produce carbon dioxide. And I'm sure going back to your time, carbon dioxide wasn't on the agenda at all. Now we have carbon dioxide trading schemes, we have carbon taxes, we have emission credits, all manner of things going on. So really, one of my big challenges right now is trying to understand the legislation that's coming at us, trying to understand the mood and music, and try and decide where this business is going.
The issues for me as a manager here were firstly labour relations. We had the air station going, of course, which has been pulled down now. There was something like 1,000 people on site. If there were 1,000, there was about 1,100 shop stewards. There were 4 very big, powerful unions in those days, to say nothing about Arthur Scargill and the coal board in full flight. So here on the ground, therefore, my daily life was full of difficulties with the labour. When I used to come into this power station, there was no doubt as an engineer, one felt an enormous excitement at the sheer power of the place. I mean, this power station will satisfy the electrical demands of some tens of thousands of people and commercial entities. So you get this feeling of absolute energy in manufacturing. And there are a number of places you can go to really sense that, both physically and mentally. If you stand in front of a 500 megawatt turbine, you can hear that continuous hum of the alternator. You can feel the vibration because lumps of rotors like this going around at 3,000 revs vibrate, and controlling that vibration takes some doing, but you get that sense of sheer energy. The other place I can remember, I used to go down into the mill there. As I said, you grind coal in mills. There are 7 of them, i.e. 1 spare one. And there it's like an inferno, Stygian gloom. It's full of dust. It's full of noise. You can hear the coal mill banging and clattering. In fact, you need ear defenders to preserve your sanity. But you do get that feeling of raw energy about to be converted. And there's no doubt, if you're like me, a lapsed engineer, it still brings goosebumps to you when you come back into a place like that and hear it. If I just comment on the old A station, The old age station had 5 units. In fact, the station I joined when I was a lad some 52 years ago had 4 units, and the last one was just being built in 1952, and that was the latest thing by English Electric. It was a 40 megawatt job. That was of enormous size in those days. Here we are, having pulled down a station which had 120 megawatt units, and was stood in the control room of a station with 500 megawatt units. I know that now, if we were buying units, big ones today, we would buy 1,000 megawatt units. And it's to the credit of the CGB in the 50s and 60s, when Sir Christopher Hinton was the chairman, they took the bold decision to have a fleet of 500 megawatt units throughout the country. They would provide the bedrock of the electricity need for the UK. Great to be in this control room. It's the centre of this power station, so it really is the nerve centre of this big industrial installation. What I noticed when I came in is the vast difference there is between what it was like when I was here all those years ago and what it's like now. The advent of computer control in power station engineering, science and technology has had a massive impact. In fact, we didn't have screens like they have. Everything was individually monitored by a particular instrument, and the control knobs were all over everywhere. So I guess the operator demand, and these guys are exceedingly skilled, the operator demand then was quite different than now. Well, David, I used to come in sometimes and think, what am I doing here? Beset by labour. We used to have a mantra, we never close, you know. It became one of my pet phrases. 7 days a week, of course, you need to work. We never closed. I found it exciting and challenging, but occasionally quite wearing, if I remember rightly. I wonder, when you come in and sit down, if you have 5 minutes, you won't have many 5 minutes. What do you think it is like?
I suppose from my point of view, the great joy of this job is almost the challenge that you really don't know what is going to come through your door next. And it could be anything from a significant health and safety problem, or it could be a plant availability problem, it could be a sort of human resources problem, it could be industrial relations, and you've got to suddenly be able to jump into whatever sort of understanding and skill set is needed. So every day is different, and that makes it a very full-on job and very interesting, but at times a little bit frustrating, because there's all these things that you know you want to do, but often you're getting involved in these sort of, you know, short-term and genuine real problems right now.
Well, I can sense, whilst there are big differences in the world between my time here and your time here, there's that constant set of things which excite, which challenge, which make the job of a station manager, I think, the very best one you can have in the industry.
I love Granville Camsey. He's such a star, talking there to David Leach, and I've really enjoyed those history look backs at the power station through the years. And that's it for our event. Thank you so much. We had over 5,000 of you joining us at the peak, and we've had over 1,000 comments. So it's been great to hear that you've all enjoyed yourselves this morning. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed today, we've got our usual Monday night show tomorrow at 7 p.m. So that's Chase TV live at 7 p.m. here on the Chase Indies Facebook page. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Sunday and see you tomorrow.